What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Here we go. Some cool and interesting facts about Norway. I'm Mace, coming to you from Western Canada, British Columbia, another beautiful place. So I can definitely appreciate, particularly even on this first slide, just this fjord and this kind of scenery reminds me of Desolation Sound here in British Columbia. Norway, number second on the Human Development Index. So very well-run country, well-oiled machine, happy people. It's good. All right, let's hop into the video. Some cool and interesting facts about Norway.
Explore Norway, the cold and incredible country of the north. Norway happens to be one of the safest and most beautiful countries on earth. Its natural beauty, cool designs.
That rock's wicked, and then of course it's from. I also recognized it mainly. I wasn't super familiar with it, but I did recognize it from Mission Impossible Fallout.
Viking ancestors and strange laws are extremely unusual. How is Norway different from the rest of the world? Let's find out together. The origins of Norway in English come
Northern
from the
Road?
Old English word, Northweg, mentioned meaning way leading to the north. Norway's population is over 5 million, and almost as many Norwegians as its population live outside the country. The highest Norwegian population outside of Norway is in the USA. Minnesota is considered the unofficial capital of Norwegian America. Norway is least likely to be affected by climate change. Popular
Minnesota.
for its fjords, Norway's magnificent nature is diverse with forest-covered hills and marvelous glaciers. The Eiranger Fjord is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, arguably the most famous fjord on the planet. Of course, the climate is very cold in winter and life is shaped accordingly. It is said that Norwegians are born with skis on their feet. Skiing is one of the most popular sports in Norway. The presence of thousands of mountains and fjords
Or they're
creates
getting pulled in a little buggy when they're a baby.
a very suitable environment for extreme sports. And camping under the Northern Lights, which is a visual show of nature, is one of the most wonderful experiences for Norwegians. Northern Lights are natural reflections caused by the interaction of the Earth's magnetic field with charged particles from the sun. You can watch this view from most of Norway.
Yeah, that's cool.
You can see polar bears
I've never
in the
really
wild
seen
in
those.
Norway. Of course, you don't have to worry about this while roaming the streets of Oslo. But head to far-flung Svalbard, and it's a different story. As one of the uninhabited places on
You don't mess around with a polar bear. They're, what they say is, if you run into a black bear and it attacks, fight it. If you run into a brown bear and it attacks, run. If you run into a polar bear, just give up. You're already dead.
the planet, Svalbard is a true Arctic haven. It's nicknamed the realm of the polar bears, as their numbers exceed that of the human population. Reoffenders almost don't exist in Norway. With more progressive tactics in terms of incarceration, Norway's reoffending rate is one of the lowest in the world. Norway's jails are some of the best and most humane in the world, focusing on rehabilitation rather than punishment. Every prisoner has internet access, each has a plasma TV, a private shower, and the right to stay in luxury rooms of sorts if they want. Norway is one of the countries with the highest standard of living and one of the lowest crime rates. It's forbidden to die in this town. Yes, you heard right. It is illegal to die in Longyearbyen village in Norway. New burials at the cemetery in this quaint town were stopped years ago. The village of 1,500 inhabitants consists of wooden houses built in a valley sheltered from the wind at the foot of a mountain. But why is it forbidden to die in this village? The reason for this interesting regulation is that the village is extremely cold. An epidemic that broke out in 1917 forms the basis of this ban. In the research conducted on the death of a significant part of the population in the epidemic that broke out in those years, it was understood that the cause of this virus was a corpse buried in the cemetery 70 years ago. That's why scientists have banned burials in this village. People who get sick here spend their last days in another part of Norway, and the dead bodies of those who have lost their lives in this land are taken to another part of Norway and buried.
That's interesting.
Have you ever been to a supermarket in Norway and wondered why they only sell beer and cider? Where on earth is all the wine and liquors? Well, the answer to that question is Vinmonopolet. Vinmonopolet is the only place to buy alcohol above 4.75%, according to Norway's alcohol consumption regulations. Thankfully, there are many Vinmonopolet stores around Norway where you can go and
Thankfully.
delight yourself with a bottle of wine to celebrate an occasion or just to accompany your dinner. Norwegian cuisine is delicious. When you think of Norwegian cuisine, maybe
Fish.
nothing specific comes to mind. But trust us, you'll adore discovering it. Did you know that Norway introduced salmon sushi to Japan? It was the Norwegians who taught the Japanese how to make salmon sushi in the 80s. Also, Norway is one of the world's largest exporter country of salmon. As for alcoholic beverages, the
We also like our salmon here.
best Norwegian alcoholic drink is definitely aquavit, also called akvavit. This Norwegian liqueur is made from
The AI
potatoes
voice.
and grains, and is often used in various aromatic flavorings, such as cumin seeds, lemon or orange peel, anise and fennel, and is traditionally consumed at celebrations such as Christmas and weddings. If you decide to write a book in Norway, your biggest sponsor is the government. The Norwegian government purchases 1,000 copies of every book published in the country. And if you publish a children's book, they'll purchase 1,500 copies. Then, the government distributes the books to local libraries throughout Norway as
What?
part of an initiative to support writers and people within the creative industries.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty amazing, right?
That's pretty cool because at the end of the day, there's not that many people that tackle the creative endeavor of writing something, and you're going to lose out on a lot of interesting works because people just are either not able to do it, they're not able to get it published, or they're forced to self-publish and they can't do that. So that's pretty cool that the government, promotes that and helps with getting more and more works published. 1,000 books, that's a lot.
Norway is an important supplier of oil and gas to the global market, and almost all oil and gas produced on the Norwegian shelf is exported. About 95% of Norwegian gas production is exported via pipelines directly to the EU and UK. Company and government revenues from the sale of oil and gas have played a crucial role in creating the modern Norwegian society. But most surprisingly, Norway is the only oil-producing country with high gas prices. Country has the highest gas prices in the world. Also, Norway, the country with the highest EV adoption, has decided on a national goal that all new cars sold by 2025 should be zero-emission, electric or hydrogen.
I believe our government said 2030 for that initiative. We'll see how it happens, how it goes.
It's one of the world's happiest countries. Unsurprisingly, Norway is often listed as one of the happiest countries in the world, according to the World Happiness Report. The report proves that this Nordic country is not just a beautiful place, but also a happy one. Plus, many other annual reports, such as the Global Peace Index, state that Norway is a safe and peaceful country to visit. What's more, the Norwegian capital Oslo has been the proud venue of the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony every year since 1901. The chairman of the Norwegian Nobel Committee presents the Nobel Peace Prize in the presence of the King of Norway and the Norwegian royal family on 10 December each year. The Peace Prize is the only Nobel Prize not presented in Stockholm, Sweden. The Sami people are the indigenous people of Norway. These folks are known to have lived in northern Norway for over 10,000 years, as
Whoa.
well as in the far north of Sweden, Finland and Russia.
10,000
They have their
years.
own language that a third of the Norwegian population speaks, and their own capital, Karasjok, complete with its own parliament. Many of the Sami people still live in this land as reindeer herders. Norway has a land border with Russia. This one had
Yeah.
me scratching my head and checking a map. Although there is just one road crossing, the Norway-Russia land border is actually 120 miles long. The Storskog crossing on the E105 highway is the northernmost road border crossing in Europe. By the way, that's something many people do. Norwegians cross over to buy cheaper fuel for their cars, while Russians cross over
Cheaper fuel, yeah. You can do that. A lot of Canadians do that with the United States. They'll go down into Washington State from British Columbia to get gas.
to buy better quality goods in Kirkenes. Do you remember this painting?
The
The
Scream.
Scream is the popular name given to a composition created by Norwegian artist Edvard Munch in 1893. The agonized face in the painting has become one of the most iconic images of art, seen as symbolizing the anxiety of the human condition. Munch's work, including The Scream, would have a formative influence on the Expressionist movement. The National Museum in Oslo holds one of the world's most important collections of paintings by Edvard Munch, including such iconic works as The Scream. These works are available for the public in the National Museum.
Nice.
Sometimes called the Doomsday Vault, the
The Doomsday Vault. This is where they keep all the seeds and everything.
Svalbard Global Seed Vault in Norway is seen as humanity's last hope against extinction after a world crisis. With its characteristics, the permafrost, location and geological properties, Svalbard is indeed a perfect place for a seed vault. Permafrost and thick rocks ensure that the seed samples remain frozen even without power. It is indeed the final backup.
The final backup. The AI says
Whaling in Norway, a brutal tradition that still exists today. The only negative thing we can say about this wonderful country is that Norway still ranks first among the countries where whaling is done for commercial reasons. While Norway proclaims that whaling is an old cultural tradition that should be preserved, environmental and animal rights groups say otherwise, in response to its inhumane treatment of whales, and more broadly to its disruption of the natural environment. Currently, the countries where commercial whale hunting is still in practice are Japan, Norway, and Iceland. While Iceland announced recently that it would stop its commercial whaling by 2024, there is no end in sight for the same practice in Japan or Norway. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty sad if the whales are threatened with extinction, right? Like if their numbers are dwindling, and like it's going to be good for anybody. It's not going to be good for anybody if they're gone. Also, if they're, not humanely treated, but it's always an oxymoron. Like, how can you humanely kill something anyways? I don't know. Anyways, pretty good video. Not too bad for one of those AI ones. I liked it. All right. See you soon.